A wild night with Lu Ruyan led to her unexpected pregnancy, bringing me into the Lu family. I was thrilled to spend my life with her, despite her constant coldness. But when our child had that fatal accident, my entire world collapsed. Yet right then Lu Ruyan ran off to Shili with her first love to chase their childhood dreams. In the funeral hall I guarded our child's altar, agonizing through every second just as despair took over. High heels clicked and someone shouted, "Ruyan, you are finally back." I instinctively turned only to find an empty doorway. Crushing disappointment washed over me like a tidal wave. I finally realized she never belonged to me. This marriage was always just my own lonely monologue. 3 days ago our child died in a car accident. Meanwhile she was off in Shili with her first love, fulfilling their childhood dream. 3 days after Xiaoqi passed, Lu San still had not shown up. The mourners simply came and went. Every face was a mask of grief and regret, but I knew it was fake. As I poured some water in the kitchen, women giggled and whispered behind my back, "The kid has been dead for days and his mother still is not back." "Don't you know?" "Know what?" The voice dropped to a low whisper. "Ruyan went to Zili Snow Mountain with He Yiguang. There is no cell signal up there. The Liu family is calling her like crazy, but she has not answered a single call. Or maybe she is just ignoring them." A woman sneered. "Everyone knows he tricked Ruyan into marriage. Without him she would have married He Yiguang long ago." Drowned out by their cruel gossip and shattered by grief, I finally fainted right there in the funeral hall. They fed me medicine in bed. When I woke up the noise was still buzzing in my ears. Fighting a splitting headache, I buried my face in the pillow to escape. A damp, salty smell filled my nose. My tears had completely soaked the fabric. The chatter died down as high heels clicked closer. Someone whispered, "Ruyan, you are finally back." "Ruyan? No, that is impossible. She is far away in Jili with He Yiguang. Why would she return? Even if she wanted to, He Yiguang would never let her. He deliberately chose Xiaoqi's birthday to fly her out of the country." That night my son sat in silence, melting candles casting a dim glow on his face, revealing his deep disappointment. Yet he did not touch a bait. In his soft voice, he kept asking, "Dad, when is Mom coming back?" He never cried. He knew early on that Mom did not love him or me. For 5 years his only wish was to spend a birthday with his mother, but he died before it came true. The chair beside me scraped the floor as someone sat. I knew that scent, the person I shared a bed with for 5 years. I used to sense her instantly, by her breath, her movements, or a simple glance. Once craved her closeness, but now that my heart is dead I cannot bear to look at her. She sat down, offering a cold careless, "I am sorry." Always another apology. When she left for Jili with He Yiguang, I blocked her path and held her sleeve, begging her to wait just one day. I knew I had no right to make demands, but it was our son's 5th birthday. She never wanted this marriage, but for our son I kept begging anyway. Naturally she brushed my hand aside, expressionless. "I am sorry, He Yiguang is waiting," she said. She forgot that her own child was waiting for her too. But this time my son is truly angry. He will never wait for her again. Shivering from the cold, I curled up and buried my head. She sat there knowing I was awake. She was always suspicious, tracking my every move. She wanted to make sure I was not plotting against her or hurting her precious lover. "Are you awake?" Ruyan asked. Her voice held no grief, only impatience. "The crowd left. Get up and eat." How could she remain so incredibly calm? It was as if the dead child was not hers. For years she saw our son as a stain and never treated me like a husband. If my mother had not forced us together we would never have married. She hated us both. She once called us the farmer and the viper. Thinking of my son's raspy voice I asked, "Have you seen Xiaoqi?" "Yes, I did." "That is enough," she replied coldly. I fought to control my emotions. I did not get any calls. Cell service cut out in the mountains. Honestly, was she trying to convince me or just clear her conscience? I did not care anymore. Fine. She stayed, clearly annoyed by my dismissive. "Fang Yuan, he is just a child. How could you let him go out alone as his mother? I deserve an explanation." A cold chuckle and dragged myself up. I must have looked absolutely hideous right then. My eyes were sunken, lifeless, and my face was deathly pale. I looked like a skeleton. But Lu Ruyan stood there in luxury brands and flawless makeup, arms crossed. She was beautiful, but there was no grief, no tears. She was like an officer interrogating a suspect, and I was the criminal. "What are you laughing at?" she demanded. "At you," I said, leaning back, fragile as paper but sharp. "Do you even know where Xiaoqi was going when he left?" Ruyan stared, waiting. "He went to find you. He called countless times, but you never picked up. He thought you were lost and could not find your way home. He wanted to rescue you." She hesitated. "Why did you not stop him?" "I could fool him once or twice, but he was too worried about you." Suddenly I felt pathetic. Why was I even explaining myself? It is my fault. Those words stirred a storm in the freezing room, hardening her gaze. Meeting her critical gaze, I spoke clearly. "My mistake was being foolish enough to love you and having our son. I was wrong to let you give birth to him, only to make him suffer, and then fail to protect him." I flashed a painful smile. "My biggest mistake was harboring illusions, thinking we could actually build a life together." Her face went completely blank, speechless. Before either of us could react, a sudden slap struck my face, and someone burst through the door, screaming curses. She grabbed my shoulders, shaking me. "You could not even watch a single child. You deserve to be a father." It was Ruyan's aunt, an arrogant, toxic woman who always despised me and my son. She once pushed him, fed him rotten peaches, and whispered that his mother hated him. This display of grief was just a performance for Ruyan. I sat numbly as she slapped me, blood dripping from the corner of my mouth. Meanwhile my wife watched indifferently, completely motionless, her eyes filled with detachment. From the past until now, whenever we needed her most, she never stayed. As her aunt kept pounding on my chest, the pain flared up. Amidst the screaming, I met Ruyan's cold eyes. Once, if I just scraped my skin, she would, asking repeatedly if it hurt. Times had changed, now I was being beaten right in front of her, and she watched with complete indifference. Over the years my love for her went from a youthful crush, to nursing a broken heart and finally through a forced setup becoming her husband. I used to feel love, hope and even guilt toward her, but now everything was gone. My sanity finally snapped. I lunged up, grabbed my aunt's arm and slapped her right back. She froze, clutching her cheek in utter disbelief. In this household except for Lu Ruyan I did not owe a single soul any. My son owed them even less. She deserved that slap. On the day we went to Zhangyang Cemetery, my face was still bruised, swollen, and my chin covered in scratches. If Ruyan had not pulled us apart that day, my injuries would have been worse. But the one Ruyan pushed back closed in, but I felt nothing, staring blankly out the window. Beside me, Ruyan took a call from He Yiguang. On the day of our son's funeral she just had to take another man's call. Her voice, usually arrogant, carried a rare gentleness. For He Yiguang, are you busy? Go ahead and head back first, I will help you. I turned away but I felt her eyes on me. She handed over the phone. Yiguang wants to speak to you. In the past, I would have smashed the phone. But with our son gone, what was the point? Under her heavy gaze, I smiled and held the phone to my ear, feeling the lingering warmth of her skin. I used to crave everything about her scent, her voice, her touch. But now just holding the phone made me feel physically sick. His voice came through, bright and polite as ever. Fang Yan, are you okay? I stayed silent. Beside me, Ruyan's presence was suffocating, as if she would kick me out of the car if I dared speak harshly to him. She had done it before. On a freezing, snowy night I called He Yiguang in front of her, to stop destroying our marriage. Ruyan threw a massive fit, smashed my phone and kicked me out into the cold. I walked in the snow for 2 hours and ran a fever for a week. She never visited. Only Xiaoqi stayed by my bed, placing his hand on my forehead, calling my name. I only survived for him. Without me, how would he survive in that family? But now he is gone. All my strength is drained. He Yiguang's voice drifted back, repeating, Fang Yuan, are you okay now that your child is gone? His voice was hushed, keeping Ruyan from hearing. You must be devastated because you lost your only leverage. He was right, my son was my ticket into the Liu family. But without him, what is the point of staying? What point is there in staying? I cleared my dry, painful throat. Then I am giving her back to you, He Yiguang. I paused, realizing my mistake. Actually my mistake, she was always yours. She snatched the phone away and hung up, trembling with rage. What lies are you telling, Yiguang? What could a grieving father possibly say to his wife's lover anyway? There was nothing left to protect. No anger, just letting go so they can be together. I cannot hold on to this marriage or even my life. Drizzle, we buried Xiaoqi. His tombstone photo was of him at 3 years old. That photo was from when we planned a family portrait. Xiaoqi and I arrived early, waiting from morning till night. All around us were sis laughing and posing together under the photographer's guidance. Their joy only made Xiaoqi and me look pathetic. I could endure Lu Ruyan's hatred, but what about my boy? In the gloomy weather, his photo on the cold tombstone has no smile. He was just hiding his heartbreak to make me happy. Under an umbrella I bowed my head to pray at Xiaoqi's tombstone. I begged that in his next life he would get loving parents, not cold shoulders. Then a shadow fell across my eyes. Someone approached. It was Lu Ruyan. Forcing my heavy eyes open, I saw her black coat pass by. She bent down and placed something at Xiaoqi's grave. When she stood up I saw it was a racing Lego set. Confused, I immediately grabbed her sleeve. Terrified I would make a scene in front of our relatives, she whispered, "We will talk at home." "What is that?" I asked, completely calm. She looked back. "Xiaoqi's birthday gift. He asked for it but I did not have time." "He asked you? You promised?" Startled by the absolute despair on my face, she grabbed my wrist. "What is wrong?" My legs gave out, a knife twisting inside me. I collapsed at my son's grave. In his final days, my child. On his last birthday, he received a fake gift but still smiled. He knew I bought that watch, but when I lied and said it was from his mother, he happily accepted it, smiling and saying thank you. He knew everything. He knew all these years that his mother never loved him, never preparing a single birthday gift. Now that he was dead, she brought this late toy. What was the point? At home the tension was thick. Her father was waiting, clutching his cane, his brow furrowed deep. But his voice softened for me. "Xiao Yuan, go upstairs." I knew he was about to unleash his rage on her. Her father was the only person in this family who trusted and supported me, all because my father, in a moment of crisis, saved his life. When my father died, our family collapsed. To repay the debt, they gave my mother a high-paying, easy nanny job. Her father also put me in the same school as her, ordering her to treat me well. She did, but I was foolish enough to fall in love with her. Now hearing she was late to Xiaoqi's funeral, her father was beating her. The nanny ran up, screaming for me to go down and beg for mercy. She dragged me, crying, "The master listens to you. Go help her, hurry." Why should I? I used to love her with all my soul. If she got hurt, it pained me more than her. But that was only because I loved her. Later, day and night, I watched her run around for He Yiguang. Once my love died, only guilt remained. How many times did I want to leave with Xiaoqi, and how many times did her father beg me to stay for the kid's sake? Or for my mother's dying wish? I should never have agreed. I stripped off everything she bought me, putting on my own simple clothes. Nothing in my suitcase belonged to me. It was all Xiaoqi's. I left my watch on the vanity, making sure I took nothing that wasn't mine. A sigh of relief rose from my chest. I caught my breath, dodged the nanny and walked down. She had indeed been beaten, kneeling on the floor, gritting her teeth. As she looked up, her bloodshot eyes met mine, but I did not look back. Her father threw down the cane and walked over. He was the person I respected most here. He gave my mother and me a home and an education. Even now I remain grateful. To him, uncle I called him, refusing to say father again. I still remember our wedding day when he put my hand on hers earnestly telling her, Xiaoyun is a good kid, you treat him well. Just like the day my mother first brought me to this house. She introduced me the same way Xiao is your brother now, walk to school together and get along. Back then she could still smile and look after me. She took me to the cafeteria and waited for me. She was so bright, a natural center of attention while I was painfully ordinary. Beside her I kept my head down in my plain uniform, barely daring to speak to her. I was timid, awkward and unlikable. Everyone at school knew she only stayed near me because her father owed mine his life. Still she was kind, ignoring my silence and taking me everywhere, but the moment He Yiguang appeared that balance broke. Suddenly, he was the one waiting outside her classroom, and he was the one eating with her in the cafeteria. I don't remember how he slipped into her life, only that, at first I didn't understand her sudden coldness. Then I overheard classmates in the restroom. Fang Yuan has no common sense, she is dating Yiguang, and he's still acting like a third wheel. Hearing those words made me shrink back. From then on I had the decency to stay away. I made excuses to avoid eating or walking with her, even dodging her at home. But when I showed up in the cafeteria with a female classmate, confronted me. Looking down at my table she sneered, so you won't eat with me because you are dating? I was confused, I just want to stop. Third wheel. But later through a cruel twist of fate I broke them up. He Yiguang and Liu Rian, the perfect couple. Now it is time to return this place to him. She stood up, unfazed by the blows. While she stared at me I looked at her father. Everything I own is left in the bedroom. I am leaving today. Moving out and divorcing was something I had discussed with Uncle Lu days ago. He had tried to stop me, but he knew that without Xiaoqi I would never stay. In this cage my mother built for me. She stood there like an outsider, completely confused. Leave, where are you going? Her words instantly enraged her father. Shut up, you useless girl. She frowned, her eyes filled with unreadable complexity. Fang Yuan is my husband. Where is he going? So she did know I was her husband. It was just never recognized. Her father gasped, clutching his chest in pain. I rushed over to support him, gently comforting him. Uncle, please don't get excited. He expressed deep regret over our ruined marriage. Knowing the blame lay entirely on his daughter, he did not fault me. It is my fault. I failed to raise her well. And hurting Xiaoqi, your mother would blame me. Uncle, please don't say that. I helped him sit down, meeting her searching gaze. Your father is in poor health. Pay more attention to him. Gone was my past fragility. My calm demeanor made my grief seem heavier. As I walked past she grabbed my hand. Make it clear. Where are you going? Why leave? There is no greater grief than a dead heart, but she did not understand. I didn't give her another look, shaking off her hand. 3 days after leaving I collapsed at home. This was expected. My stomach cancer was diagnosed 2 months ago. Back then my son was alive and I was fighting to live. The day I got the report I tried to tell her but only got a cold stare. She hated me to the bone. I woke up too late. I had planned to get cured and leave with my son. Now I am going to join him. What I never told her was that Xiaoqi only ran out because I fainted from pain. A 5-year-old did not know how to call an ambulance. His first instinct was his mother. Opening my eyes at the end of my life I never expected to see Shen Yuchu. We were classmates in school. He was poor but brilliant, completely devoted to his studies, the opposite of the wealthy, arrogant Liu Ruyan. In the past she called him a snob and told me to stay away from him. When I defended him she accused me of taking his side. I knew he wanted to be a doctor and would succeed, but I never expected to be his first patient. Standing by my bed in his white coat he looked sharp, a stark contrast to my disheveled state. It reminded me of our school days when he would look at me and say, Fang Yuan, exams are coming. You should focus on your studies, not fool around with her. Back then I was clueless, arguing, she is going abroad and I am going with her. It is not fooling around. Whenever I said that his expression grew complex. Looking back I finally understand. Chasing someone who does not love you, no matter how hard you try, is completely futile. I'm a living example. Still, Dr. Shen saved my life. I raised my hand with the IV tube, waving my stiff fingers and forcing a small smile. Hi Dr. Shen. Perhaps he did not want to talk, so he sent a nurse instead. My neighbor brought me in, and my bills were unpaid. When she asked for family contacts, I smiled. No parents, no family. Her look filled with pity. Dr. Shen wants you to get a scan and a full checkup. I weakly put on my old coat. I had left her house with nothing. None of it was mine and I feared she would demand them back. I never wanted to see her again. This old coat was thin and pilling at the cuffs, looking quite shabby. Pulling my hands inside, I had no need. I just fainted from exhaustion. My health is fine. In her house, except for her father, nobody respected me. They knew I was a parasite who schemed to get her pregnant just to marry into her wealthy family. All these years I never got the respect of a husband or my wife's love. Instead I lived worse than an employee. My mind and body have been forged into iron. The nurse looked skeptical. My face looked as pale as the terminal patient next door. Of course, I have late-stage stomach cancer, but that is a secret. To protect her I secretly visited countless hospitals for a cure, rolling in agony and vomiting constantly. After paying at the window I clutched my abdomen and stumbled out of the line. Through my blurred, fading vision I thought I saw Ruyan. She wore the coat I bought her, snuggled in another man's arms. I wished my consciousness would fade completely, so I wouldn't see He Yiguang wearing the scarf I hand-knit for her. I'd asked about it so many times after she took it. Where is the scarf? She'd claimed she forgot. It turned out she gave it to him. She could have thrown it out, but she chose to humiliate me instead. Yet I felt strangely peaceful. In that second my love for her finally died. All my love and debts, buried alongside Xiaoqi's death. I woke up from the dream childless and broke, while she got her happy ending with her new man. Standing in the busy hospital, I remembered the countless gifts I gave Lu Ruyan, only for He Yiguang to treat them like trash. On her mother's death anniversary, I waited until midnight, only to see his social media post. "You always make my heart ache." Even the scarf I'd knit stitch by stitch was around his neck. I'd learned from my mother just to make it for her. Back then I was terrified, desperately hoping for a smile, but she just took it coldly and told me not to waste my time again. She wanted to show me that all my efforts were completely useless, but I only wanted to make amends to get her approval. Back then the one holding my hand and comforting me was Shaichi. He said, "Dad, don't be sad, Mom is just stubborn." "Silly child, if you love someone, how could you be so harsh?" She was never harsh with He Yiguang. For 2 weeks after Xiaoqi died, I survived on painkillers. As my body wasted away the pain unbearable, I had to take pills to fight it. Every time I threw up I felt like an empty shell. My stomach was completely empty. It got so bad that even a sip of water hurt. I took handfuls of painkillers, clutching Xiaoqi's favorite teddy bear just to sleep. In my dazes I wondered if Xiao hurt this much when he passed. He had no painkillers to help him. He must have suffered so much. It's my fault. I didn't take care of him, my sweet Xiaoqi. As my consciousness faded I heard a slow steady knock. If the pain hadn't kept me grounded I would have thought it was death knocking. Standing there was Dr. Shen's presence made me grimace. He was never this attentive before. Back then when I begged him to explain homework he barely looked at me, cold as ice. "Why care now? Fangyan, your condition is terrible. You need to get to a hospital right away." He's a doctor. A good glance. Shen Yuchu's face hadn't changed much, just matured. The pride in his eyes was even more intense now. Like Lu Ruyan always said, he was aloof. And proud people cannot stand insults. I didn't want to offend him right before I "Dr. Shen, are you short on patience?" I tried my best to sound bitter and nasty. "How much of a commission do you get for pushing all these extra tests on me?" Shen Yuchu's eyelid twitched. Of course, who would tolerate an unreasonable difficult patient? Dying alone was the best possible for me anyway. I swallowed my pills and drew the curtains to rest when 2 figures downstairs caught my eye. It was Shen Yuchu and Lu Ruyan. How did she find this place? Shouldn't she be with He Yiguang right now? They were arguing, looking ready to fight. Ignoring my agonizing pain, I rushed downstairs, threw myself between them and choked down the burning tickle in my throat. I forced my eyes up. "What are you doing here?" Lu Ruyan stood in the cool night breeze, her coat fluttering. Moonlight painted her delicate features with a cold, distant glow. The look she gave Shen Yuchu was dripping with hostility, just like back in school. Whenever she caught Shen Yuchu things or fetching water for me, she would fume for hours. "Fang Yuan, don't you have hands of your own?" she would snap. She never let me near other girls, yet she reserved all her kindness for He Yiguang. I used to love her, cutting off everyone for her sake. But now I just want peace. I shielded Shen Yuchu, tugged his sleeve and urged him to leave. He and Lu Ruyan stared each other down, tension crackling. If not for my begging, he wouldn't have walked away. Lu Ruyan's face hardened into an icy storm. "So you abandoned your comfortable life at home just to run here and hook up with your first love?" she sneered. "A good life? So being neglected by my wife, hated by everyone, and losing my child was a good life to her?" I understood her hatred. I ruined her happy ending with He Yiguang, but now that I am literally dying, why did she have to show up? I don't want this life anymore. I hope you grow old together. I spoke calmly, without any hysteria. Just like the day I left her house, it was as casual as discussing what to eat next. "I'll be taking my leave now." A flicker of surprise crossed her eyes. All these days she probably thought my divorce threat was just an impulsive reaction to Xiaoqi's death. I had threatened to leave before only to back down. Her doubt made sense. "Fang Yuan, have you really thought this through?" "It was my firmest decision." "Isn't my departure exactly what you've wanted all these years?" After a tense silence, she nodded with a mocking smirk. "You said it, don't you dare regret this later." And begged me. Watching her leave I wondered if I even had a future. That night I saw He Yiguang's post. "Wish fulfilled," it read, showing a brand new ring on his finger. Meanwhile, the cancer was spreading through my body, who knows how far. It had gone. I smiled, almost glooming death. On that day I'll finally see Xiaoqi again. I missed him so much. Yet, despite not seeing Lu Ruyan for weeks, I hadn't thought of her in the past. I doted on her constantly, taking care of everything. I packed bags, managed the house and handled the family. When she came home drunk from banquets, I brewed her hangover soup. Yet we shared a bed while she dreamed of another man calling He Yiguang late at night. I ran myself ragged, yet the man by her side was always He Yiguang. On business trips she ignored my calls. The few times the phone rang through, He Yiguang answered. He had naturally become her shadow. He smirked and told me, "Ruyan is asleep. No wonder she hates you, you're just a nuisance." I told him to care for her. "Do you really think you're her husband?" he sneered. "If you hadn't forced her into marriage by getting her pregnant, she'd never look at you." At that moment, I was left speechless. But without those burdens I lived much easier. To keep myself going I still went to the hospital, not for a cure but just to get enough medication to last until Christmas. Xiaoqi loved Christmas. If I went to him then, he would be so happy. Walking through the crowded hospital I looked terribly sick. Even wrapped in thick winter clothes, my empty sleeves revealed my skeletal arms. As I headed for the exit, Dr. Shen rushed out after me in his white coat. I turned to look at him. He approached with a deep frown, his eyes locked onto my face. I pulled my scarf up, terrified he would notice. No one wastes this drastic unless they are dying." Fangyan, Shen Yuchu murmured, looking deeply troubled. He seemed about to speak but sighed instead. "Where are you heading now?" I mumbled. "The station. I'll drive you." For some reason a wave of sadness hit me. Before I could refuse, Shen Yuchu walked ahead toward the hospital gates. This path was always dying, lonely soul. Shen Yuchu's voice brought me back. After I left last time, did Lu Run get the wrong idea? She always misunderstood us. I shook my head. No, we already divorced. I was shocked to hear of your marriage when I was studying abroad. Before I left, Xie threatened me not to go, saying you and he Yi Guang. He stared at our shadows, chuckling softly. Never mind. But Lu Ruyan is so contradictory. She warned me not to like you, yet claimed she only saw you as a brother. I froze in my tracks. When did she say that? Before Yi Guang appeared, Lu Ruyan used to grab my sosa and drink from my cup. She even kissed my cheek, teasing me to stop drinking cold things before stealing my soda. I had almost forgotten we ever shared such beautiful moments. Everyone saw the spark between us, and Lu Ruan never bothered to deny it. I once followed her under the plane trees, her shadow stretched long by the sunset, her eyes were warm with affection. When I asked why she didn't clarify things, she whispered, "Clarify what?" In the sultry air she blinked softly. About to say more, but the driver arrived to take us home. Back there she locked herself in her father's study for hours. From that day on she grew cold. She stopped taking me out to eat and she never picked me up again. I tried visiting her, but she coldly snapped, "Stop bothering me." I had no idea what I did wrong. My desperate attempts to please her failed. Then Yi Guang arrived. She stopped sharing my drinks, stopped kissing me, and pushed me away. When friend asked her, "Aren't you dating Fang Yan? Why are you always with Yi Guang?" She frowned. "I only see Fang Yan as a brother. If not for his father, he wouldn't even be that." No wonder when I called her on my birthday, Lu Ruyan snapped at me, her voice absolutely freezing. "Fang Yuan, you only live here because of your father. Don't go spreading rumors about us. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself if you're even worthy." Those icy words shattered my heart. A few days later, my mother warned me to stop dreaming of climbing the social ladder. We were just freeloaders and we had to be careful, so I buried my love and desires, letting them fade. But just as they died, my mother drugged Lu Ruyan and put her in my bed. I spent the rest of my life drowning in regret. Shen Yuchu, I finally felt free as I said, "Lu Ruyan, I have no relation anymore." Within hours those words reached her. Under the cold night sky she stood by a black sedan. She had discarded her coat, wearing only a thin dress, smoke swirling around her fingers. She looked breathtakingly beautiful. No relationship at all. Keep in mind so she remembered our son. Yet she always treated Xiao Qi as her ultimate shame. Shen Yuchu must have told her my words. Too exhausted to care, I just smiled. The child is dead. So indeed we have absolutely nothing left. A cigarette burned down, almost scorching her fingers. With fake tenderness, Lu Ruyan said, "Was more kids?" No. There was only one Xiao Qi. But I didn't argue, I just played along. "Sure, you and Yi Guang will have plenty of kids. I just want a place to spend my final days." Lu Ruyan snapped back, furious. "And you, will you let Shen bear your children?" My head was pounding so hard I barely registered her words. I just wanted to escape this woman who caused me nothing but agony. It was best we never met again before my death. Seeing her only brought back memories of Xiao Qi with cold finality. Off eyes snapped, "Believe what you want." I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm with a desperate grip. A flicker of emotion crossed her cold face. "Have you forgotten you are still my husband?" "Not for long," as choked. As the cold wind hit my throat, she stared, trying to read my face. She searched my eyes for any sign of a lie. Finally she sneered, "Fang Yuan, your threats are always so pathetic. Do you really think you can survive without me?" A threat? No one bluffs with their own life. Besides, with or without her, I was barely surviving anyway. She was just trying to force me back. By withholding our divorce assets and taking back my apartment, she wanted to humiliate me. I was homeless while she was preparing to marry another man. Who gets remarried less than a month after their son passes away? Yet Lu Ruyan did. Word of her upcoming wedding to Yi Guang reached me through endless gossip. I knew how festive they were, how furious it made her father, and how much people whispered behind my back. I knew all of it. But now I treated it like a joke. I was no longer a character in their play, so why should I care? When Yi Guang called, I was trying to swallow pills with warm water. A deep bitterness surged up from my chest, refusing to be suppressed. I felt like throwing up. "Fang Yuan, Ruyan and I are getting married next month," Yi Guang bragged. I didn't waste my breath. I just muttered, "Congratulations," hung up, and forced the medicine down. But I had no idea that when he called she was standing right beside him. She looked miserable, not like a happy bride at all. Perhaps she finally realized my divorce meant I truly had no love left. I was homeless, wandering like a stray dog. When she called me later, she probably wanted to mock me. I stood at the train station carrying my bags, watching the bustling crowd. Her voice sounded distant, dreamlike. "Fang Yuan, I will give you one last chance. Do you want to come back?" My eyes burned. Maybe she had a soft spot left or felt some pity, but why couldn't she show that mercy when our son Xiao Qi was still alive? It was far too late now, no one needed her pity. I squeezed the toy bear Xiao Qi left behind, smelling the faint scent of baby formula on it. It still felt warm, as if carrying his touch, caressing it was like touching his sweet soul. "Lu Ruyan, I am never coming back." "Never." I looked down at the toy, staring into its eyes, finding his soul looking back at me. "I am sorry for the past," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I apologize. Actually, I wanted to divorce you 2 years ago, but your father wouldn't let me. I only delayed you and Yi Guang. I am truly sorry." I hung up. Before boarding, a text from Shen Yuchu flashed on my screen. "Fang Yuan, you have late-stage stomach cancer. Why aren't you in the hospital?" When she finally found me, I was standing by the sea. This was Xiao Qi's dream. I had made a bucket list to complete his wishes before I died. The first one, celebrate his birthday with his mother, was already crossed out. The second was for the family to visit the ocean. Now that we were divorced, I was his only family. The waves gently washed over my feet. My tears blurred the endless blue horizon. I wanted to make things right, but my crying wouldn't stop. If only I had brought him here when he was alive. He wouldn't have died with such regret. I always insisted that a family trip needed Lu Ruyan there, yet here I was standing by the sea entirely alone. The wind made my fragile body ache. I forced myself back to the hotel, only to find Shen Yuchu waiting outside my door. Her silhouette blurred before my eyes, her face tight with anger. Her instincts as a doctor flared instantly. Fang Yuan, do you realize you are killing yourself? A cancer patient running off to the beach? Yes, I was. Before I could take a painkiller, the agony knocked me out cold. Thank goodness a doctor was there, or I wouldn't even have fulfilled Xiaoqi's third wish. She wanted to hospice me, but at this point hospital beds were just a waste of money. I had barely anything left. Even my previous medical bills were covered by her. Shen Yuchu grew up poor. In high school she always wore oversized uniforms with faded frayed collars. You could see the lint glowing in the sun. She was nothing like the wealthy Lu Ruyan. Her life was a constant struggle which made me desperate to pay her back. The woman I had loved for 10 years was gone, yet the one paying my bills and keeping me alive was Shen Yuchu. I asked her why she was doing this. No one had been kind to me in so long. Shen Yuchu didn't answer. She just wrapped a warm, clean scarf around my neck and whispered, "You were good to me once." Really, I couldn't remember. I guess terminal illness steals your memories. Back then your eyes were only on Lu Ruyan. Of course you don't remember helping someone like me. I caught a hint of old resentment in her voice. She handed me my pills looking at my gaunt face. Painkillers won't save you, Fang Yuan. You need chemotherapy immediately. But would chemo save me, or would it just prolong my agony and make me look hideous? I wanted to look decent when I died, so Xiaoqi would recognize me. I didn't want to scare him. Her silence said it all. She was a doctor, but when facing terminal cancer no doctor can guarantee a miracle. Holding my cup of warm water I felt a strange peace. Dr. Shen, since you are here, can you do me a favor? She quickly turned her head away, trying to hide her tears. If you want me to arrange your funeral, forget it, she choked out. No, I would never drag someone so pure into my tragedy. Could you just take a photo of me, one to burn at my funeral? Behind the terrace was the majestic, endless ocean. I changed into clean clothes, but my fragile body couldn't handle the biting wind for long. Shen Yuchu took my picture with the sea. I wanted to show it to Xiaoqi, to tell him that his dad had fulfilled his wish. Leaning against the railing I flashed my first genuine smile in weeks. She tried her best to capture a good shot, but a dying man can only look so good. Just as I forced a smile, trying to capture a warm memory, someone snatched the phone from behind Shen Yuchu. Lu Ruyan stood there, scrolling through the photos of me at the beach. The peaceful moment shattered. Before I could stop her, she began deleting every single one. Her knuckles turned white as she clutched the phone, her lips pressed into a hard line, her eyes glared at us with pure disgust. Fang Yuan, do you have any idea how long I've searched for you? And you were here with her? Shen Yuchu stepped forward to explain my cancer, but I grabbed her hand, using her arm to keep myself upright. I haven't congratulated you on your wedding yet, I said, looking past her at He Yiguang. It felt like a lifetime since we last shared a table. He Yiguang hadn't changed, he was still the loudest one at the table. He piled food onto my plate, acting as if nothing was wrong. Fang Yuan, it's only been a few days. How did you lose so much weight? I wasn't just thin. I looked pale and completely bloodless. At his words, Lu Ruyan stared at me. For a second her eyes held what looked like pain. But it must be my imagination, she would never hurt for me. Is this how Miss Shen looks after you? She sneered. She was just an old classmate and a doctor who left her job to find me, start chemotherapy and keep me company. I was deeply grateful. What right did Lu Ruyan have to judge her? How she took care of me was our own business. This was the first time I had ever embarrassed her. Back in school, I followed her like a shadow. Even Anders married, despite her treating me and Xiaoqi like garbage, I still cared for her. I cooked for her, cleaned up after her, and when she fell ill, I stayed up nights to nurse her back to health. But that version of Fang Yuan died with Qi. He Yiguang gave an awkward chuckle, placing his hand over hers. Ruyan, see, I told you he'd be fine, you worried for nothing. She pulled her hand away. I noticed He Yiguang wasn't wearing a ring, but Lu Ruyan was wearing our wedding band. What was that supposed to mean? During our entire marriage, I was the only one who wore mine. It was always a one-man show. Now that I had walked away, she decided to put it back on. How ironic. Feng Yuan, I remember you love spicy food, He Yiguang said, tossing a piece of grilled mutton onto my plate. The pungent, spicy smell made my raw throat tighten. Shen Yuchu pushed the plate away. The past is the past, he doesn't like that anymore. Spicy food was lethal for my cancer. She saved me, but He Yiguang only smirked and teased us. Dr. Shen always protects Finkrakt. I knew back then you two belonged together. Congrats! Lu Ruyan snapped, her voice ice cold. Panic and embarrassment instantly washed over He Yiguang's face. I was shocked she would speak to him like that. She had always cherished He Yiguang, never raising her voice at him. Now, she was furious over a simple joke. Back in school she gladly joined him in teasing us. Whenever Shin Yuchu and I ate lunch, He Yiguang would show up and make suggestive jokes. Lu Ruyan would just stand beside him, looking at us with cold disgust, muttering, "You talk too much, you two really are a match." She used to join in, but now she forbade him. She pushed the meat back to me. "I don't believe one bite will kill you," she said, forcing it on me as usual. "Will you be happy if I eat it?" I grabbed my chopsticks with grim resignation. My eyes burned with tears. Once I loved her. Later I stayed at a guilt, yet she still wanted to kill me. Without waiting, under her stunned gaze, I put the meat in my mouth, chewed and swallowed. She suddenly snatches my chopsticks. "Are doctors always this? I don't want to die yet. I just want to get away from Lu Shuyan." How ironic. When we married I desperately wanted to see her, but she stayed out all night. Since our divorce she keeps showing up but I don't need her anymore. Suddenly a sharp pain strikes. Mu-chun stands up in mouth turning pale. And you call yourself Fang Yuan's wife? He has stomach. His voice suddenly cuts off. I grab his hand tightly. Lu Ruyan asks in confusion, a stomach issue. Before she can finish, I cough violently, bending over. Bright red blood splatters across my palm. But it's just a stomach disease. Since returning from the beach, she has been showing up more and more frequently while my complexion grows worse. She tries to drag me to the hospital but I fling her hand away. Stop bothering me. My cold resolve panics her. Fang Yuan, you never told me you had a stomach illness. My throat is parched. My raspy voice sounds like a rusty saw cutting through rotting wood, carving a massive distance between us. It's just a stomach issue. Go worry about Guang. Aren't you afraid I'll actually marry him? She asks, gripping my wrist tightly as her warmth seeps into mine. Without Xiaoqi, why would I care about being your husband? I only hope you two have a house full of children. She might have many kids in the future but none of them will be Shu. Since his death she rarely showed her grief. Yet here she is standing before me looking utterly devastated. Fang Yuan, she pleads. Who is more important to you, that child or me? Xiaoqi is, I murmur, swallowing the bitter pain. If it weren't for him our marriage would never have lasted this long. In an instant something in her eyes shatters. I shake her off, head upstairs and lock the door, downing a handful of painkillers. But before they can kick in, the agony in my stomach triggers a chaotic revolt in my organs inside my body. It feels like a giant hand is clawing through my insides, tearing me apart. I rush to the bathroom, throwing up until I splash of blooming red. Wiping my mouth I close the window and look down. She's still standing there, lost in the cold night wind. Exhausted I collapse onto the bed. Hours later my phone sings. It's her. She sounds drunk, babbling incoherently until I catch a faint slurred sentence. Fang Yuan. I miss Xiaoqi. She repeats it over and over. Too late. I hang up and block her number through the pain. I can never forgive myself. This terminal illness is my punishment and I gladly accept it. But before I go, two of Xiaoqi's wishes are still unfulfilled. The third wish was, can mom? I promised my son a kitten. He said everyone in kindergarten had one and he wanted one too. But when Lu Ruyan heard, she looked disgusted. She snapped at him, isn't raising you enough? I knew she didn't want another bond with me, but she shouldn't talk to a kid like that. We had a massive fight. She called me greedy, accused me of pushing too far. I told her she didn't deserve to be a mother. She sneered. You think I want to be a mother? Rage boiled up from the soles of my feet. I rushed forward, but in the end I couldn't bring myself to hit her. Instead she shoved me onto shattered glass. My palms were dripping with blood as she walked out. I thought the driver had taken Xiaoqi to school, but he had been hiding in the house. He came out to wipe the blood from my hands, crying helplessly. His little face crumpled as he wiped his tears. He sobbed, Daddy, I don't want a kitten anymore. I'll never ask again. Xiaoqi had so few wishes in his life. Wanting to make him happy, I bought one anyway. It was snow white, tiny, soft and snuggled in my arms. He was so good and barely meowed. Xiaoqi adored him, caring for him gently and naming him Yuanyan. Lu Rian stayed away for a few days, but the moment she came back she threw Yuanyan out. Xiaoqi said it was okay, but I knew he was heartbroken for a long time. I walked into a pet store wanting to look at the kittens for Xiaoqi. They came in all colors, some lazy, some playful. Then I saw one pressing its pink paws against the glass. It was pure white, except for a distinct black patch on its ear. I recognized him instantly. It was Yuan. He had gotten a bit chubby, his cheeks filled out into a round little ball. When we first got him he was so small Xiaoqi could hold him in two hands. The day Lu Ruyan threw him out, Xiaoqi didn't say a word, but his pillow was soaked the next morning. Seeing Yuan felt like seeing Xiaoqi again. Overwhelmed I tapped frantically on the glass, alerting the staff. They rushed over and pushed me back. Like a madman I pointed at the cat, screaming it was mine. The employee probably thought I was crazy, shoving me toward the door. I wasn't crazy, I was just overwhelmed with the joy of finding what we had lost. Xiaoqi's Yuan was found. Does this mean I can see my son too? But the person who came for Yuan wasn't Xiaoqi, it was He Yiguang. He walked in and locked eyes with me, then looked at the cat. Fang Yuan, do you like Lingdong? The kitten was brought out. I had watched He Yiguang steal my wife and now I watched my son's cat nestle in his arms, acting so affectionate. Our Lingdong is so good. Do you want to pet him? He called him Lingdong, but I knew he was Yuan. I suddenly lunged to snatch the cat, startling He Yiguang. He stumbled back. Fang Yuan, what are you doing? Are you just used to stealing things? But he belongs to Xiaoqi. That cat isn't yours. I broke down, my stomach twisting in agonizing pain as I screamed. He Yi just smirked like it was a joke. Fang Yuan, Ruyan gave this to me. How is it to yours? You hoarded Ruyan for years and now you want to steal a cat? It was Lu Ruyan. He took Xiaoqi's cat and gave it to Yiguang. How could he? Even if he hates me, Xiaoqi is completely innocent. When did it start? When did Ruyan start giving my things to Yiguang? It probably started on his birthday when Yiguang first showed up. Once Yiguang appeared, Ruyan's eyes never left him. He was brilliant, a perfect match for Ruyan. Ruyan would be devastated on his birthday just waiting for a gift from him. That night, sits on the steps, Ruyan stared sadly at the moon. Back then he was so full of youth. Yet the pale moonlight cast a hollow emptiness in his eyes. He asked me, Fang Yuan, do you think he forgot my birthday? He meant Yiguang. Stifling my own heartbreak, I handed him the bracelet I had worked so hard to save up for. I forced a smile and said, maybe he's just busy preparing your gift. Ruyan took it without a glance. The next day he came to find me with Yiguang. I froze. My bracelet was wrapped around Yiguang's wrist. There were so many more instances like that. Like the driver my uncle assigned to me, sent away by Ruyan to pick up Yiguang, or my competition design sketches handed over to him, and then's the study abroad spot. Ruin stood right in front of me, completely shameless with not a single trace of guilt. He said, Fang Yuan, Yiguang needs this study abroad trip more than you. He has talent and shouldn't be wasted. That day my mother was diagnosed with terminal stomach cancer. Her dying wish was for Ruyan to take me abroad. Yet Yiguang stole even my mother's final wish. He snatched it away. I sat by my mother's bedside crying through the night. Was I weeping for the lost trip, my dying mother, or Ruyan's absolute cruelty? Back then Xiaoqi wasn't born yet. I had no idea how powerful a child's tears could be. They could drive my honest ordinary mother to set a trap for Ruyan. The night before Ruyan and Yiguang were set to leave the country, I ended up in bed with him. I knew my mother's desperate intentions. She was terrified Ruyan would marry Yiguang. She feared I would have no place in the family with no one left to protect me after she was gone. If I had known that drink was drugged, I never would have touched it. But Ruyan was furious. He choked me on that hotel bed, snarling, "Aren't you with Shenyu? What are you trying to do to me?" I cried that I didn't know. He laughed coldly, his grip tightening around my throat. His words sliced through my chest like a knife. "You are just like your mother, a born parasite." That happened during my mother's final days. With a face bruised and battered, I confronted her at the hospital. I yelled, blamed her, and demanded to know her relationship with Uncle Lu. Her face turned ghost white. Her breath fogged up the oxygen mask as she wheezed in a raspy, weak voice. "Who told you this?" Was it shattered again? I told her his words. He said if the mother failed, she sent her son to finish the job. My mother shook her head in shock. I wept, "Mom, what do I do now?" That was my final conversation with her. It was the last time I saw her. In my dreams I knelt at her grave begging for forgiveness, but all I felt was a pair of warm, tiny hands smelling of a child. It was Xiaoqi, but suddenly his hands turned icy cold and his little body went rigid. I held him tight, screaming in absolute panic. "Is anyone there? Please save my baby," but no one came. I could only watch him slip away right there in my arms. Even in my sleep, tears streamed down my face. Later I learned my mother and Uncle Lu almost ended up together, but she fell sick, and knowing how much I loved Ruyan, she tried to force us together. Even though Ruyan already had Yiguang, she took all the blame. She played the villain before dying just to secure a smooth future for my life. But I failed her. I could not keep my place in the Lu family. I could not save my own baby, and now I have the same illness she did. The waiting is endless. I used to spend days on end in this very house waiting for Ruyan to come home. Yet today, after only 30 minutes, I am already so exhausted. It feels like my life is draining away. I do not even know if I'll make it to Christmas. Xiaoqi always loved Christmas. This year my gift to him was Yuanyuan, and for Yuanyuan's sake I dragged myself here to see Ruyan. I waited for him downstairs at the old mansion, my face pale as a sheet. He frowned as he approached, his voice surprisingly soft. "Why aren't you resting? You look awful. Is your stomach acting up again? Stomach issues?" "It is cancer, and it is terminal." I flinched away as he reached it to touch my forehead. "Do not. I am only here to ask you one thing. Did you give Yuanyuan to who is Yuanyuan?" He did not even know the cat's name. He let him rename the cat Cry. I just wanted Xiaoqi's cat back. It belonged to him. Ruyan's eyes softened with a complicated look. He reached out, gently cupping my face, his regret too obvious to ignore. "Let us go upstairs. We can talk about the cat another day." "Another day? I do not have another cat." My voice cracked as I yelled. The strain triggered a violent coughing fit. I doubled over, my face flushing as my vision went blurry. I slapped his hand away, looking tense. "Don't panic. I'll call him right now." To grab his phone. Forgetting to act, I stared at the bare coffee table and snapped, "Where is the water? Is everyone dead?" Wow, shocking that he actually cares if I have it. Water sat nearby. After that call I waited for Lu Ruyan's decision. She walked over, surprisingly gentle. "I will bring Yuanyuan back to you, okay?" Seizing the moment, I brought up another matter. "Can you give me my share of the divorce settlement? I desperately need money right now to pay back Shen Yuchu. He is not from a wealthy family and he spent way too much on me recently. I must repay him. Nothing is better than leaving with a light heart." "Did you come here to ask for my help finding the cat? Or just for money?" I said both. Her face turned incredibly complex. She reached into her bedside bag, pulled out a card and handed it to me. The pin is Xiaoqi's birthday. So, she actually remembered his birthday. She remembered the date, yet she never showed up. I took the card. "Will give you the money, but not as a divorce settlement." Liu Ruyan then spoke with absolute seriousness. "Fang Yuan, wait for me to return. I will bring Xiaoqi's cat back. We can start over. I will redecorate Xiaoqi's room. Next time we can celebrate his birthday together, okay? But I will never see Xiaoqi's next birthday." Why couldn't she have done this sooner? Why couldn't she agree to celebrate with him earlier? "It is too late, Lu Ruyan. It is far too late." That wait felt like a lifetime. As the illness tore through my body, I stared at the old Lu family mansion. I remembered the first time my mother and I walked inside. Lu Ruyan was still just a young girl. Later we married here, then my mother died. In our wedding room, I drowned my sorrows in alcohol. She found me annoying and threw me out. By the time she realized she was pregnant, it was too late for an abortion. During those months, she tried to hurt herself multiple times to destroy the baby. She truly deeply detested this child. After Xiaoqi was born, she viewed him as her ultimate shame and ignored him. I raised him bit by bit, taking him for shots, giving him medicine, dressing him, keeping him warm and rocking him to sleep. Every tear he shed broke my heart and every smile made my worries vanish. Xiaoqi knew his mother did not love either of us. To help me get a little more affection, he would hurt himself, cotton colds and running fevers just to bring her home. But that was never what I wanted. I just wanted him to be safe. I gently told him never to hurt himself, that nothing was more important than him, and that lying was wrong. But he would not listen, he was just a child who wanted his parents together. Soon Liu Ruyan caught on, and his little trick lost its power. Even when news of his death reached her ears, she thought it was just a prank. In this very house, I met Liu Ruyan, lost my mother, had a child and lost him too. Maybe I have truly reached the end. These memories flashed through my mind like a slideshow. Liu Ruyan returned at dawn holding a pure white kitten in her arms. She touched its paw to my nose. Fang Yuan, I found the Yuan Yuan you wanted. Was it really Yuan Yuan? I could barely see anymore. I hesitated as I reached out. I noticed the eyes were a different color. The ears and size were similar, but it just was not him. It was pure instinct. What is wrong? She asked me, letting the cat curl up in her arms. Talking to her little. I thought a pet would hurt him and break your heart, so I refused. I let my hands drop, refusing to hold the cat. This is not Wenyan. Why lie to me with a fake? If Xiaoqi knew, he would blame me. Liu Ruyan, there is no need to lie to me at this point. I waited here for a lifetime, yet in the end I could not even get my boy's cat. She froze. Lie to you. This is Yuanyuan. I was too calm, unnaturally calm. Certain it was not him. Where was Yuanyuan? She had actually gone to He Yiguang to demand the cat. Looking closer, there were slap marks on her face and her skirt was wrinkled. They must have fought. She returned exhausted, yet she still tried to soothe me. Within 30 minutes of her phone call, He Yiguang killed him, but no one could punish him. I felt immense grief, but I was completely numb. Where are you going? She let the cat slip away and reached out, looking almost desperate. Pleading, but what could she possibly plead for? Go home. All strength was drained from my body, my vision went black, my legs collapsed and I fell. My lips mumbled those last words, find Xiaoqi, but before I could I fainted right in front of her. Who is knocking on the door? Calling my name? I tried my best to stay awake, but my foggy mind only heard faint chaotic noises, like broken fragments of a dream. A woman screaming, smashing things. Someone grabbed our family doctor by his collar. He is my husband. Why did you not tell me he was sick? I saw them. It was our family doctor, and standing beside him was a silent Shen Yuchu. He confronted her. He is your husband. He is dying, and only now do you realize he has stomach cancer. Miss Liu, please calm down. The doctor desperately tried to defuse the situation. Over 2 months ago I called you. You said yourself that Mr. Fang's business had nothing to do with you, so she should have known long ago. I let out a slow, heavy breath. The oxygen mask was pressed against my face. My shallow breathing sounded like a countdown. Every breath was painful and precious. Before I die, I finally saw this proud woman bow her head. She wanted to hold my hand but hesitated. Of hurting me. Her hand hovered in the air, never coming down. She looked like a child who had broken their favorite toy, desperately wanting to fix it but having no idea how. After a moment she covered her face. Faintly I heard her sobbing. The weeping echoed through the ward. Can this fighting please stay away from me? Sadly I could not speak or yell at them. I do not know how much time passed, but Dr. Shen walked over. My eyelids fluttered. I saw his white silhouette behind her. You will disturb him. Get out, she snarled, her voice trembling and dry. She had been crying for so long it was getting annoying. I never expected her to cry, especially not for me. Now that I am dying, she finally regrets it. What was she doing before? He is your husband. All these years, did you ever care for him? Shen Yuchu's words pierced like needles. Before you suspected us, even after you married, you still did. Did you ever consider that he just wanted to marry you? I feel so sorry. I did not expect him to be sick. Really, I did not know. The hospital is full of critically ill patients who cannot eat, surviving only on pills. Coughing up blood is the least of it, enduring agonizing treatments 100 times a day. How would she know? She only thought I was throwing a tantrum over Xiaoqi's death, making a big deal out of nothing. She thought I would eventually go back. They kept arguing by my bed, completely ignoring that I was a dying man. Liu Ruyan gently tucked my hand under the covers. Turning her back to Shen Yuchu, she said, aren't you a doctor? Can you save Fang Yuan? He has wanted to die for a long time. No one can save him now. At this point, Shen Yuchu was telling the truth. Liu Ruyan, get out. The room fell silent. My physical sensation felt fake. My hand was lifted and pressed against her cheek. She kissed my palm, her tears falling. Why did you not tell me you were sick? Just because Xiaoqi is gone, you will not even treat your illness. What about me? You only care about the child. Did you ever leave a place for me? She took my limp hand and slapped her own face. How could I be jealous of Zhao Xiaosai? Or of Shen Yuchu? We are the married couple. Fang Yuan, wake up and hit me. Say whatever you want, hit me, I am willing. She was calling my name. I heard it. I desperately wanted to break from her grip, because I saw Xiaoqi waving to me, calling Dad. Daddy, it is so dark here, I am so scared. I wanted to rush over and hug him, but her hand held me tight. Why will she not let me go even now then? A needle pierced my skin. The sharp pain made me frown and my toes curled. It felt like my very bones were aching. As the medicine flowed in, the physical pain faded briefly, but the pain of my life was something no drug could cure. People were busy by my bedside. Doctors and nurses, accompanied by anxious shouting. The vital signs on the EKG monitor near my ear were extremely weak. At the edge of death, I seemed to see Xiaoqi again. He was sitting on a soft lawn, his tiny body lying in the grass, looking with sweet dimples on his soft little face. When he smiled, his eyebrows curved. He sweetly called me Daddy. I wanted to hold him, but someone was still calling my name. The scene warped and Liu Ruyan's face appeared before me, calling out to me. But I wanted to go with Xiaoqi. I wanted to tell her to stop. Leaving like this was my last wish. She refused. She brought in the best doctors to save my life, but no medicine could help. I had no will to live. My mind kept following Xiaoqi in my dream, but in reality Lu Ruyan held onto me tightly, refusing to let me go, until the EKG showed a pulse. She dragged me back. She said she was my savior, that my life belonged to her, and that I must cherish it. I lay in the hospital for a week. During this week she never left my side, but I knew I could not hold on. At the end of my life I saw the person I least wanted to see. On Christmas Eve He Yiguang stood by my bed. Seeing me like this he admired my misery, taking in every bit of my ugliness and sickness, yet, he said, what a retribution. Then he added, it is Lu Ruyan's retribution. For so many years she played me, used me to make me devoted to her, only to tell me she never loved me, and even took away the cat she gave me. Why? The voices drifted in and out, sentence after sentence, crashing into my dead heart. In the end none of us got what we wanted. Fang Yuan, you must be so sad, wondering why she hated your child. He Yiguang leaned down, whispering in my ear, giving me a fatal blow while I still breathed. Because she thought the one you loved was Shen Yuchu. I told her that. You were planning to go abroad with Shen Yuchu, leaving her to be with him. But Shen Yuchu abandoned you, so you settled for second best, designing a trap to get her pregnant with your child. And she believed it. He laughed wildly, his body shaking, tears squeezing from the corners of his eyes. She actually believed it. My chest was pounding wildly. I could no longer tell if it was anger or something else, but He Yiguang did not stop. Did you know? When Xiaoqi died, Lu Run was actually relieved. She thought that with the child's death the shame of being trapped by you could be erased, so she could start over with you. Isn't that hilarious? What she thought was a beginning was actually the end. Forcing open my heavy eyelids, I partially opened my eyes, twitching my fingers. The first thing I saw was Lu Ruyan walking in. She grabbed He Yiguang's arm, telling him to get out. Lu Ruyan, you deserve this. Yes, she deserves it. And so do I. After Yiguang left, she threw a massive fit, screaming at everyone in a desperate, helpless rage. She wanted to. I refused to drink any water he tried to feed me. The nurse had to do it while he watched. When she left, he tried to wipe my mouth, but I turned my face toward the snow falling outside. I weakly whispered, it is almost Christmas, right, Lu Ruyan? Yes, tomorrow is Christmas, we will spend it together, he said. I just wanted to hold on until then to see my Xiaoqi. Fang Yuan, I will cure you. Lu Ruyan grabbed my hand, trying to smooth over the needle marks, but failing. I should have known long ago. You said so much, and your face was so pale. He didn't know, but I had told him. I really did. That day, I asked him what we would do if my stomach pains were terminal. He just put down his chopsticks and said, then do not die here. It is a bad luck. Doesn't he find it unlucky now? Christmas Eve is always bustling and festive. The green Christmas tree is beautiful, standing tall in the mall with glittering decorations. Most of the passers-by stop to take photos. Flashing colorful lights illuminate every single smiling face. Wrapped in thick clothes, my hat pulled low over my eyebrows, I sit inside the car. Only my eyes are visible, staring at the Christmas night through the window. It is snowing. The snowflakes are white and pure, just like Xiaoxi's eyes. They are smiling, yet so sad. The last time we were here, I sat in the car holding Xi. He pointed at that Christmas tree and called it pretty. I looked over only to see Lu Ruyan standing right underneath it, taking photos with He Yiguang. My heart tightened, and I rushed to cover Xiaoqi's eyes. Through the heavy falling snow, I can almost see my boy, a red sweater, sitting under the tree. He touches a little bell and whispers, Daddy, this is so pretty, right? Yes, it is beautiful. But Xiaoqi's smile fades, replaced by Lu Ruyan's panicked face. He wraps his arms around my shoulders, pulling me close. Yuan, you are so cold. He wants to give me warmth, but he forgets he was always cold to me. Do you want to go down and walk around? I shake my head. Just one look from afar is enough to spend this Christmas for Xiaoqi. The snow keeps falling, and my strength fades. The Lu Ruyan feels my body temperature dropping and desperately rubs my wrists, but they are covered in giant bruises from all the needles. Fang Yuan, are you cold? Please talk to me. His cheek presses against my forehead, bringing that clean, crisp scent of his, yet it feels so distant now, like something from a past life. Over all these years, the scent he brought home was always He Yiguang's perfume. Inside the warm, quiet car, the blizzard is shut out. He watches the snow with me, his chin resting gently on my hair. We look out together as his voice drifts into my ear, soft and light. Fang Yuan, do you remember why I never explained things between us? I should have told you. There were so many times I could have said it. The snow is falling harder now. Is Xiaoqi cold on the other side? It is okay. I will see him soon. My sweet Xiaoqi, that was his very last wish after all, to be with his day forever. My eyelids feel heavy, as if coated in frost. I close my eyes. They say hearing is the last sense to go. My soul drifts from my body, but his voice continues. Fang Yuan, if my dad had not married your mom, if he had not forced me to treat you as a brother, we would not have ended up like this. Right, Fang Yuan, are you cold? Wait for me. I will not wait. I want to be far away. Far away, in the next life and the one after that. I never want to see him again. The voices grow incredibly distant. There is crying and someone calls my name. The light fades, blinking in and out. I am so tired, my eyelids are so heavy, and I cannot lift my arms. I try to hug Xiaoqi's, but I only grasp a shadow. I keep chasing, running and crying until I reach the end. Drenched in sweat and gasping for breath, I finally see my little boy. In his arms is holding a snow-white puppy. Daddy, you are here time. I finally grab Xiaoqi's hand. Side story. Lately my sleep is filled with dreams of Fang Yuan and Xiaoqi. Sometimes I see Fang Yuan sitting beside our son as he eats, gently feeding him soup with a spoon and wiping his mouth. Other times he is picking Xiaoqi up from kindergarten. Fang Yuan stands by the gate, squeezed among the crowd of parents, tipping his toes to search for our boy. But every single time he finds him, Xiaoqi always asks, "Daddy, why does mommy never come to get me?" Every time Fang Yuan just falls silent. I know the words must have choked him. How could he possibly explain to our sweet boy that his mother did not love him? Whenever my head throbs with pain, I swallow another sleeping pill. Only medicine grants me rest, and only in those dreams can I see my Fang Yuan and Xiaoqi. In this dream, Xiaoqi has a fever, and Fang Yuan holds him close inside a crowded children's hospital clinic. He caresses Xiaoqi's flushed, burning cheek, tears streaming down his face. He frantically dials a number, my number. When the line connects, he speaks through his shaking breaths, choking back tears. "Xiaoqi has a fever, could you please?" But what did I tell him? I snapped. "Aren't you tired of this trick yet?" In my dream, his helpless, broken expression suffocates me. Those calls I dismissed as manipulative lies were actually his desperate, silent cries for help. He was in so much pain, drowning in a river of sorrow that now swallows me whole. That heavy grief crashes into my chest, leaving me breathless. I gasp awake in the pitch-black room, slowly realizing I am in Fang Yuan's old apartment, surrounded by his belongings. Scattered all over the floor are empty bottles of painkillers that Fang Yuan swallowed. He took so many, his pain must have been. Do these pills actually block the hurt? Because I took them too, yet they do absolutely nothing. Outside, someone keeps hammering on the door, so loudly. If Fang Yuan were here, he would hate this noise. He loved quiet. With that thought echoing in my head, I stagger to my feet and swing the door open. Immediately, a heavy slap hits me across the face. Hard. My father's furious curses rain down on me. After hearing about Fang Yuan's death, he fell ill for days and now he stands shivering and coughing. "Who told you to come here? This is Xiao Yuan's room. Don't you dare come in and make it dirty. Get out." He is right. This is Fang Yuan's sanctuary, and my presence only taints it. But I must take his things. They are all I have left and I will protect them. So I step back inside and lift the box of his belongings. Before I can even grip it, a harsh shove sends me stumbling. The box drops, spilling everything across the floor. Ignoring the pain, I desperately scramble to gather them up. My father stands behind me, raising his cane but hesitating to strike. "You never cherished him whilst he lived. Now that he is gone, who are you acting for?" "I am not putting on a show. These are my husband's things, and I just do not want them to get ruined. That is all. You are no longer welcome in this house. You are no longer one of us." Cast out, alone with my family shattered. This is my karma. Clutching his things, I leave the Liu family home, moving to a place empty of his presence. He never enters my dreams now. I know they hate me. When he was alive, Fang Yuan begged me so humbly to just spend one birthday with Xiaoqi. I can never erase his pleading, hopeless eyes from my mind. But what was I thinking back then? I wondered why he did not just go to Shen Yuchu instead of playing the victim before me. He loved Xiaoqi so much that he seemed to have eyes only for our son. Did he love the child or did he love me? It was only after his death that He Yiguang confessed Fang Yuan loved me. Back when Xiaoqi was born early, He Yiguang told me that Fang Yuan actually loved Shen Yuchu, who abandoned him for another country, leaving me as his second choice. That lie drove a permanent wedge between us. But I cannot blame anyone else. I was just blind and suspicious enough to doubt my own husband. I stand before his grave for hours. Someone approaches from behind, placing a bouquet of flowers. After a quiet moment, a voice cuts through the air. "You do not deserve to stand here. Fang Yuan would never want to see you. Leave him in peace. He is my husband." "Not anymore. He divorced you before he died." "I never agreed." A sudden slap stings my face, but the physical pain is entirely numb. Shen Yuchu is shaking with rage. Since Fang Yuan passed, he has hit me more times than I can count, screaming that I never deserved to be his partner. My lip splits, spilling a drop of blood onto his grave, and I frantically rub it clean with my sleeve. He loved cleanliness, hated blood, and despised me most, despised me enough to banish himself from my dreams. Shen Yuchu grabs my arm, forcing me to look into his eyes, which are ablaze with fury, but as the anger fades, it leaves a deep, crushing sorrow. His voice cracks as he chokes back heart. He is right. Fang Yuanso was always suffering in silence. I finally see how I neglected, doubted, and resented him all those years. Throughout our broken marriage, he spent every single day gathering up the shattered pieces, trying to glue our home back together, to give Xiaoqi a real home and a mother who cared. But he died before he could succeed. Now he is reunited with our son. They are together and they have completely abandoned me. Shen Yuchu seems to sense my despair. He flings my arm away, wiping his hand in disgust. "You need to stay alive. I hope you live a very long life, just so you do not go and ruin their peace in death." He glares at Yan. "Fang Yuan never wants to see your face again, not even in the afterlife." When this dream stopped coming as professional therapy, under hypnosis, I managed to find my Fang Yuan once more, but this time he was just a young boy. Back then he was so timid and fragile. I loved being around him, but he avoided me most of the time. I knew it was because his mother forbade him from getting close to me. Back then, I didn't understand why at the time, but later I did. My father called me into his study and coldly warned me not to get too close to Fang Yuan, telling me to treat him like a brother. When I asked why, my father said he was going to marry Aunt Fang. No wonder Fang Yuan hated being around me and barely spoke to me. Yet he smiled so much more when he was with Shen Yu. It turns out he only hung out with me because he saw me as a sister. I let him have his wish. But seeing him eat and walk to school with Shen Yu made me incredibly jealous. I couldn't help but lash out with cruel words. Seeing the hurt and disappointment in his eyes, I instantly to suppress my feelings. Later I made a deal with He Yiguang. I assigned my driver to him, gave him the bracelet Fang Yuan bought, and staged our intimacy just to make Fang watch. But I had no idea it would break Fang Yuan's heart so badly. That was until I found his old phone. It was completely smashed, but I searched everywhere to get it repaired. When I finally turned it on, everything was empty, except for his notes, which were packed with endless tiny entries. The last time I left my therapist, he gave me a stern warning. Miss Liu, you must not continue with the hypnosis. If you continue, it will ruin your life. You won't even stay sane. But that was exactly what I wanted. Back home, I opened Fang Yuan's phone, swallowed sleeping pills, and in my daze, I scrolled through his entries, reading one after another. October 28th. Today I saw Liu Ruyan out with He Yiguang again. He Yiguang asked me so much about her. I can tell he really likes her. I know that look because it is exactly how I look at Liu Ru 31st. They seem to be together now. February 1st. I saw the bracelet I gave her on He Yiguang's wrist. I will never give her anything again. May 6. He told me I cannot go abroad. Mom cried. Was she crying because I am useless? Either way, I wisheth them the best. The sleep pills could no longer drown my consciousness. I became incredibly awake. Every word in Fang Yuan's notes was a grain of sand bearing me alive as I read, clutching my chest, struggling to breathe. Then I saw this entry. Liu Ruyan called me cheap. How do I explain to her that I did not want this? I confronted Mom. I cannot blame her. No one is at fault. So the mistake was mine. I am the guilty one. I should die. An entry 4 months later. She was pregnant. I knew Liu Ruyan did not want this baby. I went to the hospital and asked so many doctors, but they all shook their heads. What did that mean? I just did not want this child, whom Mom saw as a sin to enter this world. Why is it so hard? During my pregnancies, he only wrote I'm sorry. Never cried or threw tantrums, so well behaved. Did he know his mother didn't love him, let alone his father? Was his apology for she or me? But what did he have to apologize for? All these years, I never cared for him or cherished him. I misunderstood him, abused him, and caused him pain. Every entry he wrote felt like slow torture. In this spreading agony, I searched for a single shred of love, traces, but it only ended in regret until I found his very last entry. Written after Xiaoqi passed away, he wrote, Xiaoqi is gone, I'm gonna go keep him company. I thought this terminal illness was my punishment, but it turned out to be a shortcut to see Xiaoqi. From then on, he lost all will to live. He wanted to die, and I was completely blind to it. Once the sleeping pills wore off, I got a call from the hospital notifying me of He Yiguang's death. He got drunk and fell off a building. Karma, I guess. He threw Yuan Yuan to his death only to end up falling himself. I remember Yuan Yuan. I only boarded him at a pet shop. I had no idea how he got him. But sadly, no one will ever hear my explanations now. I swallowed a massive dose of sleeping pills, trying to find them in my dreams or in my hypnotized state. I tried everything, but I could never find their trace again. I am alive yet already a walking corpse. One day the sun was shining brightly. I stood at the crosswalk. As the light turned red, I saw Fang Yan through the haze. He was holding Xiaoqi's hand, his back to me. Walking further away, I screamed and ran, desperate to catch up. I lunged forward, but the screech of brakes pulled me back. A car was hurtling toward me, yet I did not even flinch. I thought maybe this way I can finally be with Fang Xuan's Xiaoqi again. But when I looked up, their figures were gone. The one I spent my life chasing had already been pushed away.